Guys, how's it going? I am back with another video on Python. In this video we're going to learn about set, and the code that I'm going to use in this session. I uploaded it to GitHub, and the link for which is you can find the link in the descriptions below. Okay, so let's jump right into the topic today, which is set. So to start with, let's see how to initialize a set variable or a set object. So basically a set object is you will have the variable name like in any other case, and you can use a set constructor. Let's just quickly do take a look at an example. So here vegetables is the name of the variable, and then set constructor, and this is an empty variable, empty set, right? So as you can see, so this is a variable of or basically object of class set. That's what the type function does. So type function gives you the type of the object. So in this case the object type is of class set, right? So okay, so now let's look at a caveat before we actually uh, look at other aspects of set. So a set is before we look at the caveat, let's just look at a non-empty set, right? So let's say I this time I initialize the vegetable set variable like this, right? So with a bunch of strings inside this set. So and these are unique elements, right? So okay, so I'm going to try printing this, and this is of type set as well, right? So this variable, so which is okay, so that's expected. So one thing is actually the to take note of is the use of curly braces. So the curly braces are basically uh, you'll also see that in case of dictionaries. So I don't believe we have covered dictionaries in this channel, but if you're familiar with dictionary, Python dictionaries, they also start and end with curly braces. I don't want you to get confused with that. So but the dictionaries are basically a bunch of key value pairs, a collection of key value pairs. So as opposed to this is single individual elements, right? So which is the reason why I wanted you to know about initializing an empty set like this, right? So if I initialized an empty set like this, and let's see what happens, and I want to look at the type of the variable, right? In this case vegetable. So I am going to comment out these other initializations, right? And as you can see, now this is of type dictionary. So this object is of type dictionary. So don't make the mistake of initializing a set this way. So if you want to initialize a variable with an empty set, you better go with this, the set constructor function, right? Set function, right? Okay, so that's the one thing that I wanted to I wanted you to learn about. So let's keep moving, right? So let me get rid of this. Okay, so also when you're initializing a, a set variable, you can um, do something like this. So you can say, so this is the set variable name in set function, and within the set function you can pass an iterator. So in this case the iterator is or a iterable. So in this case the iterable is a list. So but it can be anything. It can be a tuple, it can be a string. So anything that you can iterate over, you can pass into this set function. So if you do something like that, and let's just try to print that, and let's see what you get. So cauliflower, so it's the same thing. It's the set that we try to initialize. It's the same elements, and it's clearly shows that it's the object is of you know that this is an object of class set, which is expected. Okay, so one thing to be careful about is when you're actually uh, using a string, right? A string is also an iterable, so you can iterate over a string, and you will see the kind of output, this kind of output when you use a string actually, right? So now each character is a separate element, right? It is still a set, but each character of this string, potatoes, is a separate element. So that's that. Also, your set can contain a mix of various data types. So in this case, you can see that I have a bunch of strings, but you can also have, other data types. In this case, I have like a number or integer data type. I can also have, let's say, a float. So let's see if we can do that, right? Yeah, it's okay. So Python doesn't error out if you throw in a bunch of different data types. So that's that. Okay, so now one thing is that you can have only immutable elements in your set. I'm sorry, set. So immutable elements in your set. So what I mean by that is, so let's say if I had a list, if I threw in a list inside my variable, right, like this, let me try to run this statement, and as you can see, this statement errors out. So it says list is unhashable. So anything that is hashable is actually a immutable data type, right? So a list is actually unhashable because the elements in a list can change. It cannot be the hash of a list cannot be the same, right? So it's unhashable type. So you cannot have a list inside a set. You cannot have any mutable elements inside a set. That's that. So how do you know if an element is hashable or not, right? You can use like a hash function to find that, right? So this is a little tip to find out whether a data type is hashable or not, right? So we know that like an integer is immutable, hence it should be hashable, and a list is not hashable and it's mutable, meaning we can change the the contents of this list. So let's try that, right? So initially I'm defining this list, I'm trying to get the hash of it, and it's erroring out. So if I don't do this, right, if I comment it out, now I'm just trying to execute the second part, and we can see that the hash of this is 1. So that's pretty good. So that means actually this thing can be hashed, hence it can be part of a set. So let me just repeat that one more time. If an object is hashable, then it can be part of a set. If it's not hashable, it cannot be part of a set. So that's the point. So let's keep moving. So let's say I have the same, let's say I have the same set variable defined like this, right? And I want to use some functions, some built-in functions to uh, work with a set, right? The first thing is actually I want to start with remove, right? And so this one contains the integer value 12, so it's kind of odd, so I'm going to try to remove it. So as you can see, the 12 is removed, right? So let's say if I try to remove 12 again with the same function, what do you think will happen? Right, so it's going to error out because 12 is already been removed one time. If I run it again, so it's going to error out. So the first time it removed the element 12 properly, and the second time the same function ran, the built-in remove function ran, it errored out, right? So if you don't want it to error out, what can you do? Then you can use a function called discard. So as you can see, so this time there is no error. So discard basically, removes the element that's passed in if the element is present in the set. If it's not going to do anything. It's just going to error out. I'm sorry, it's not going to error out. It's just going to do nothing. But the remove function, if you pass in an element that is not present in the set, it's going to error out. Discard will not error out. Okay, so moving on, let's actually create another set called variables2, and I'm adding a bunch of vegetables to that set, right? And that's clear, right? So also, just to uh, clarify, so if I added some element twice, and remember I said like a set is a collection of unique elements, so it will not be added. So like you will see only the unique elements in this set, right? You don't, because I added eggplant twice, with if it was a list, we might see it like we will see it in, we'll see it twice. But this is a set. A set can contain only unique elements, so hence we don't see eggplant repeat twice in the set. Okay, so now the next thing is, So if you remember your high school maths, uh, so you know that with set actually we do a lot of this union intersection operations. You can do the same in Python. So since we have, like, let's say, okay, let me show you how to do that. Okay, so we have vegetables, which is this guy, and we have vegetables too, which is this variable, right? So uh, these are the sets that we are working with. So this is basically a union sign. So a union, what basically does is, so if you given a couple of sets A and B, a union will give you another set, will result in a set that contains all the elements in the set A and all the elements in the set B. So in this case, actually, we're doing a union of these two sets. So the output should be a set that contains all the elements from vegetables and vegetables 2 as well. Okay, so that's that. An intersection can be done using, so let's say I add potatoes to the second set, vegetables too as well. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out. Okay, so this is vegetable variable contains all these elements, right? Then we initialized vegetables too like this. Then we add potatoes to vegetables 2 element. I'm sorry, vegetables 2 set, right? But we know this potatoes is common between these two sets. So if I do an intersection of two sets should give you all the common elements uh, between these sets, actually the common elements that exist in both the sets. So in this case, if I performed intersection operation, right, like this, we should get potatoes, which is the common element. So there you go, right? Now, yeah, finally there is one function called pop. So let's try to just run that. Before we go to pop, let me also show you the difference, right? So the difference between two sets is, like, let's say A and B are two different sets and we are doing A minus B, then we should get all the elements of the set A minus, like, if B had some elements which are also part of A, those elements will be removed in the output, right? So let's say I do vegetables minus vegetables 2. So we know that vegetables 2 contains potatoes. So the output, again, vegetables also contains potatoes. So the output will basically give you this vegetables set minus the potatoes element. So let's actually see that. There you go. Okay. Finally, let me show you one more function before we end this video. It's called pop. So it's going to pop an item from the set. So let's see. Yep, so we added potatoes to this element. to the set vegetables too, and when we ran this pop function, that was popped off the set. Okay, and there's many more functions that you can use along with a set variable, which you can find using, so let me show you. Yeah, so there's all these functions, like, add, we saw add, and if you run clear, it will basically clear out the set and you will have an empty set. Copies, to copy a set to another variable. Difference, we saw discard. So instead of using all these symbols like and pipe, you can also use intersection function and union function to basically do the same set operations. So let's say there's one update function which is kind of important. So let me show you. If, like, let's say print vegetables, and I updated this guy with let's say a list. So I am going to have a list with, let's say, eggplant and um, beets, right? So, and we know that the vegetables contains these elements in the set, right? And I want to run this and see uh, basically, so let me run this separately and print vegetables. So I think that will be better, right? There you go. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Okay, you can see that beets and eggplant are now added to this original set that we started with. So that's the update function. Yep. So there's a lot of functions that are available, predefined functions. So feel free to play with it. But I want to stop here and thank you guys for watching my videos and supporting my channel. And please subscribe to my channel, uh, as I say usually. And I will see you with another video on Python. Until then, it's good. Bye.